Hello everyone, welcome to IP Study video lectures. Today we will discuss grade 8 science chapter light. So what do you know about light? If you enter a dark room where no electrical device which can emit the light is there to remove or to eliminate the darkness, are you able to see any object in that dark room? No. Now, if you switch on the light, suppose if you switch on a lamp or bulb, you will be able to see different objects placed in that room. How this happens, how it is possible to see different objects when you just switch on the lamp or bulb, but you were not able to see any object when there was darkness. Here we can say that light enables us to see these objects in the surroundings or in that room. Yes. So, we will understand these things in this chapter. In this chapter, we will cover the topics reflection, mirror, refraction, lenses, human eye and Braille system. So, we know that light enables us to see different objects, different surfaces in the surroundings. When we say light is entering in a dark room, so it is following a path which is a straight rectilinear path. So here we can say light is propagating or light is traveling on a straight rectilinear path, and this kind of movement of light is called rectilinear propagation of light. Whenever we are talking about that light ray is moving or proceeding in a path, what is it actually moving? A light ray is proceeding. What is light ray? If you observe figure number 13.1 here. So, every time when you are switching on a light source, light is emitted in a bunch of light rays. We call it light beam. So, the bunch of light rays is making a light beam which has numbers of light rays moving parallel to each other. So, if you notice here, these are different light rays 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So, here we have different light rays which are moving parallel to each other. If you notice these are all parallel to other one. So, here we can say in a light beam, there can be multiple light rays traveling parallel along each other in a certain direction. This will continue the same pattern of movement until it is reflected from a surface. In the figure 13.1, here you can say light rays are coming in form of a light beam where different light rays are parallel to each other, and then these are striking a surface here, and after striking the surface, after interacting with the surface, these are all directed into different paths. So, if we exceed the path of light rays when these were coming towards the surface, you will find there are imaginary rays which are still parallel to each other behind the surface. But in reality, these are not traveling on the same path. These are not following the same path. These are directed on another path after interaction with the surface. So now, if you notice, these light rays are following another path and still these are parallel to each other. So what is happening in this process? When light rays are moving in a rectilinear path and an obstacle comes in their path, the light rays are bounced from this surface, and this phenomena is reflection. If this is happening from a smooth surface, so what is happening in that case? If light rays in a beam are striking a smooth surface, these will be bounced from that surface, but these all will remain parallel to each other. If you notice these are all parallel to each other. So, in this case, when any light beam is interacting a very smooth or shiny surface, this will follow the same pattern of propagation. Means these will follow on a rectilinear path and all will be parallel to each other. At the same time, you will see a glare on the surface of the object where light rays are interacting, which can be visible as a shine or bright glare. What if any object which is placed in the path of light ray has a rough surface? In that case, what will happen? If you see here, the surface is now not smooth, it has bumpy surface. Okay, in this case, before the interaction with the surface, light rays are following the same pattern, means these are in a rectilinear path and all light rays are parallel to each other. So if you notice here, these all are parallel. Fine. What is happening after interacting with the rough surface? As the surface is not smooth, every light ray is not making the same incident angle on the surface. It is not interacting in a same manner. So what happens after interaction with the rough surface? All the light rays scatter in different directions. These are not going in the same directions. So if you notice here, after the reflection, we can see light ray 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These all are scattered in different directions. So here we can say that after reflection from a rough surface, light rays move on a straight path, but they do not remain parallel to each other. And in this case, you might not see any glare on the surface. Okay? Every time when light rays are interacting with the surface or these are bounced from a surface, these are following the law of reflection. What is that law of reflection? Before understanding the law of reflection, we need to understand few terms here which are related to the reflection. First is incident ray. Now observe figure number 13.3. M and M dash. It's a surface. We can say it's a smooth surface or we assume it's a mirror. A light ray D is falling on the surface M and M dash and it is incident on point I. Incident means it is interacting with the surface at point I. So here we can say the ray DI is an incident ray. According to the phenomena, what should happen here? After interaction with the surface, this light ray should move in another direction. So from point I, it is following another path towards point A. So here we can say the light ray is now from point I to A has changed its path and this light ray will be called the reflected ray because it has changed the direction or it has changed the path after reflection. So it will be called now reflected ray. If we draw a perpendicular, which is an imaginary perpendicular on the surface M and M dash. So you will find that the incident ray makes an angle I, which is called the incidence angle with the normal. What is normal here? Or an imaginary perpendicular. Now, also you will observe that reflected ray is making an angle with this imaginary perpendicular called normal. If you compare these angles, you will find that both of these angles are equal measures. Both have same degrees. So, whenever any reflection is happening from a surface, you will find one incident ray. After the phenomena, you will find a reflected ray and there will be a point where the light ray is incident, which is called the point of incidence I. And you will also notice that the angles which are made by incident ray and the reflected ray with the normal are equal. This information can be used here to understand the law of reflection. Observe figure number 13.4. You will find that the angle AC and M, this angle is marked as angle of incidence. Suppose this is theta. And now mark the angle between M, C and D. So you will notice, then you will find another angle. Now mark it theta 1. Use a protractor to measure these angles. You will find that theta is always equal to the theta 1, which means the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. This is one law of reflection. What is the other law? The incident ray, the normal, which is a perpendicular on the mirror or the surface, and the reflected ray. All these three lies on the same plane. These are on the one side of the surface. These are on the same side of the surface or same plane of the surface. Okay, we will use these in different application in daily life. For example, for image formation, to understand the formation of image through different types of mirror. So here we will check the image formation in plane mirror. So here we can mark this A and B. AB is the mirror. What is a mirror? We have studied this in previous class. Mirror is a piece of glass which is coated at one side to make it reflective so that you can see an image in the reflective surface. Now, here we have an alphabet E. Why we are using this alphabet? Why can't we use the O? We will understand this after understanding the characteristic of the image of an object in the plane mirror. So you will be able to find out why can't we use a symmetrical object here to understand the features of a object in the plane mirror. So here we have placed one alphabet E in front of the mirror AB. Light rays are interacting with alphabet E and then these are directed towards the mirror to form its image. So when light rays are forming its image on the mirror, which is actually forming on the other side of the mirror, which is assumed that the image is formed on the other side of the mirror. So if it is placed at point X in front of the mirror, so you need to measure the distance between the point X and the point A, which is in contact with the surface or the level with the mirror. Measure this as, suppose, assume it is 2 centimeter. Okay, and now mark the position of the image behind the mirror. So we cannot mark it actually, so we are assuming it. Suppose it is Y. So we observe that the distance between the O and Y is also 2 centimeter. So here we can say that the distance between the mirror and the image is also appears same in the mirror when we observe the distance between the mirror and the image. You can see it with one more example. For example, place a checkered mat in front of the mirror and stand on that checkered mat. So you will notice that there are certain black and white checkered boxes between you and mirror. Now count these boxes. Assume there are 5 total boxes when you are standing in front of the mirror, between you and the mirror. And now notice your image inside the mirror or on the other side of the mirror. Try to count the boxes between your image and the mirror. You will find that it is the same count as it is between you and the mirror. So here we can say that image is formed at the same distance behind the mirror or in the mirror, which is the distance between you and the mirror. One more thing is, every time an image which is formed in the plane mirror is erect image. Means if we mark the head of this alphabet as H and we mark the bottom as B, you will notice that in the mirror, and if you observe the image, you will see H here and B here. Means H at the top and B at the bottom. You will never see like H at the bottom or B at the top. So here we can say we are always seeing an erect image, straight, or we cannot see the upside down image. Okay. So change it back. Okay, fine. So every time when you are seeing your image in the mirror, it is erect and it is formed at the same distance behind the mirror. What is the other characteristics? If you observe the color of the letter E, what is the color of the image of letter E? It's same, black color. You can test it with yourself also. Wear any color of shirt and stand in front of the mirror, or wear any color of dress. Suppose you are wearing a yellow color dress and you are standing in front of the mirror. So what color do you see in the mirror? You see the yellow color. Or if you are wearing a blue color, you see the blue color in the mirror as well. Or the color of the dress changes in the mirror. No, it doesn't happen. So here we can say another characteristics of the image in the plane mirror is that the color of the image is same as the color of the object. Also the size and shape remains same. Does the size or shape changes in this example? If you notice these letters, the letter E in front of the mirror and the letter E as image. Are the sizes variable here? These are different? No, these are same, and the shape is also same. So here we can say the color, size and shape of the object remains same in the image which is formed in a plane mirror. One important thing is that any image which is formed in the plane mirror is laterally inverted. So what is laterally inverted? What do you mean by the inversion? Inversion means the sides are changed. For example, if you are standing and labeled your head as H and feet as F, and you stand in front of the mirror, you will always see H and F here. But if it is inverted, means H takes the place of F and F takes the place of H. This will be called inversion, means upside down. What if the sides are changed? Sides are switched. In that case, we will say that the inversion is lateral inversion. For example, if we label this side as, suppose, left side and this is right side, and in the image, thus this appears the same. No, it appears on the left side and this side of the letter appears on the right side. So here we can say the sides of the objects are now changed in the image. So this kind of change is called lateral inversion. So what we conclude here, that any object which is placed in front of a plane mirror, it will form a laterally inverted image. The image is virtual. It is in the imaginary world. There is a world behind the mirror which is imaginary. It is not the reality. So we call it virtual world. So as the image is formed in the mirror, we call it the virtual image. The lateral inversion is useful here to write certain messages. For example, the ambulance is written on the hospital vehicles which are used as the emergency vehicle in lateral inverted state. Means this is written inverted, so that when you are seeing it, for example, when you are traveling in a vehicle and the ambulance is coming from your back side, you can see it's lateral inverted image in your mirror, and you can read it correctly and you can give it the way so that it can move forward easily. How can we find that how many images can be formed between multiple mirrors? So if an object is placed between more than one mirror, so how many possibilities are there that you will find different images of that object? We can find this using a formula here, which is number of images is equals to 360 divided by the theta. Theta is the angle between these mirrors. Suppose there are two mirrors which are placed at 90-degree angle, and an object is placed here. This is an object placed in front of these mirrors. So what you can do here? You can take, for example, you can use this space. You can take one sheet, okay, and arrange one mirror on a sheet along this line and arrange another mirror along this line. And you can place you can mark the angles on the sheet before arranging these mirrors using the protractor. Suppose you have marked, before arranging this, suppose on a sheet you have marked the angles which are 30 degree, 45 degree, again 15 plus, that's how 60 degree and 90 degree. So you can arrange different angles here, and now you can arrange the mirrors along these lines. First mirror here and second here. So we already have tested what happens when mirrors are placed at 90-degree angle. Two images are formed. What if these mirrors are arranged at 45-degree angle? Means the angle between two mirrors, mirror number 1 and mirror number 2 is 45 degree. So find out the count of the images formed there by placing the value in the formula. Minus 1. So if you place these values in the formula, you will find 8 minus 1. So how many images will be formed? 7 images will be formed. So that's how you can test different angles by arranging the mirrors in different angles, and you can find out how many images are formed when mirrors are placed at different angles with each other. Next thing is refraction. So here we can understand refraction by understanding different mediums. So here we have two different mediums, medium 1, medium 2. Assume medium 1 is air and medium 2 is glass. So what is happening? A light ray is incident on this surface, on the surface of the glass. Here draw a perpendicular, which is an imaginary perpendicular called the normal, and light ray is making an angle with this normal, which is incident angle. Okay. Now extend this normal on the other side in the second medium. Let's label it as N dash. Now what happens? We assume that light ray should travel this path after entering the second medium, but this does not happen. What happens? It changes its path, which depends on the density of the other medium. So if you compare the density of air and glass, in which of these the particles are closely packed? The air is gas and the glass is solid, and we know the solids have more compactly packed particles in them. So the glass is more denser. In this case, what will happen? That the light ray will face some difficulty moving in the denser medium. So the speed of the light ray will be reduced. In such case, what will happen? The light ray will bend towards the normal in the medium 2, and it will make another angle, which is angle of refraction. Okay, after entering into the second medium. And if you compare these angles, the angle of incidence with the normal and the angle of refraction with the normal in the second medium are not same. It is now reduced as the light ray is moving from rarer medium to denser medium. Air is the rarer medium here and glass is denser medium. What happens if the condition is reciprocated? Means now light ray is moving from denser to rarer medium. In this case, here we will see this. So draw one medium here, which is suppose glass. And now the second medium is air. So medium number 1, medium number 2. And a light ray is incident on the one point of incidence. Draw the normal. It is N and it is N dash in the second medium. Now what is happening? As the glass is denser and now light ray is moving into air, which is less dense, or we can say it is rarer. Air particles are moving apart from each other. These are not compactly packed. So what will happen? The light ray will gain the speed. It can move easily without interruption. So it will move away from the normal. So this angle is also not equal to this angle. Angle of incidence is also not equal to the angle of refraction. This time when light ray is moving from denser medium to rarer medium, the speed of the light is now increased. It is moving at faster speed and it is making bigger angle of refraction with the normal. So what is happening actually with the light rays when these are moving from one medium to other medium? The speed of the light is changed, and this change depends on the type of medium where the light is entering from one medium to the other medium. If light ray is moving from rarer medium to denser medium, the speed will be reduced and the light ray will bend towards the normal. If the light ray is moving from denser medium to rarer medium, in this case, the speed of the light ray will increase and the light ray will move away from the normal. That's how the light rays behave during the refraction from different mediums. What happens when light ray is passed through a prism? Prism is a piece of glass, and first of all the light ray is coming from air and it is entering to glass, and then again it is coming out into air. So refraction is happening two times here. First of all, light ray is entering from lesser, or we can say rarer medium to medium 1 to medium 2, which is denser. So it will slow down, it will bend towards the normal. Try to draw the normal here. So if light ray is incident on this prism, on one surface of the glass on this prism, so it is making an angle with the normal, and now if you notice, it is bent. Light rays are bent closer to the normal. When these are going out from the piece of glass, which is a prism here, from the other surface of prism. So what is happening? It is moving into rarer medium, and that's how they again now expand, means move away from the normal. Okay, so that's how we can understand this phenomena through a prism. And this bending due to the refraction through a prism help us to get 7 colors of the light, which can be observed as VIBGYOR. What is VIBGYOR? V violet, I indigo, B blue, G green, Y yellow, O orange and R red. So this mnemonics help us to memorize the color of white light, which is now scattered, which is split into different colors, and the arrangement is in this order. Arrangement of these light follows this mnemonics or this order. Okay, so that's how Refraction enables white light to scatter, to split into its 7 colors when it is passing through a prism or other denser mediums or rarer medium also. For example, if you make a soap solution, make the bubbles, you can see there some spectrum over there. You can see it from the holograms, you can see it from the CD disc, and you can see it from the ruler also. Another object which is working on the light is lens. What is lens? In the previous class also we have studied 2 types of lenses, concave lens and convex lens. And how these are made? These are made by cutting pieces from the glass bowls. So here we have cut a piece of glass bowl, 2 pieces of glass bowl actually, which are now connected through this line. Okay, and here also 2 pieces are connected here. Okay, so if you observe the outer surface of these lenses, these are bulged outside. These are curved outside. So the light ray will enter through this and it will change its path. This will depend on the curve, type of curve. So if a lens is curved on outside, it is bulged outside, this type of lens is called convex lens. We call it converging lens. Why we call it converging lens? If you notice the figure 13.3 here, the light rays are parallel. These are moving towards the lens. After interacting with the lens, means after passing through the lens, these light rays are all focused at one point. These are converged at one point. So we call it converging lens. If you see the other type of lens, it has inward curved surfaces. Curves which are growing inward. So this type of lens is called concave. These are making like a cavity. So these are called concave lenses, and it is also known as diverging lens. Why we call it diverging lens? If you again observe the 13.13 figure, so you will notice the light rays are parallel before interacting with the lens. After passing through the lens, these light rays are diverged in different directions. So we call it diverging lens. Lenses have their focus, which is called the focal point. In the case of convex lens, the light rays are focused after passing through the lens. And here we can say the focal point of the lens is found behind the lens. Which type of lens? Convex lens. But in case of convex lens, the light rays seems to meet before the lens. So we can say its focal point is before the lens. Let's understand few more terms related to the lenses. What are these? Principal axis. So if we draw these circles using the curve of these lenses and connect their centers, connect the centers of the 2 circles, we will find an axis which is passing through the center of the lens. This is called the principal axis. It can be also discovered in case of concave lens. Means try to draw 2 circles using the curves of the lenses on both sides. Find their center and try to connect their center passing through the center of the lens. How will you find the center of the lens? Divide its length into 2 halves. Okay. So if you are connecting these 2 centers passing through the center of the lens, you will find a principal axis. Second thing is optical center. What is the optical center? Optical center is the center of the lens. How we find it? Check the length and the width of the thickness of the lens and intersect these lines. So you will find a center point, meeting point. This point is called the optical center of the lens. Second is principal focus. What is principal focus? The point where the light rays actually meet or seems to meet. These are actually meeting in case of convex lens, and these appears to meet in case of concave lens. These are not actually meeting in case of concave lens because it is a diverging lens. Focal length. What is focal length? Now if you notice the length, the distance between the focus and the optical center, this is called the focal length. In case of convex lens, we have a real focal length in case of which is behind the lens, on the other side of the lens. But in case of convex lens, we have an imaginary meeting point. So it is before the lens. So the focal length is before the lens in case of concave lens when we try to meet these light rays after passing through the lens. Okay. So these all phenomena, for example, the refraction, reflection, are enabling us to see different objects using our eyes. So how does an eye works and what is the composition or structure of an eye? Let's discuss this thing. Human eye is a spherical organ, also a hollow organ. It is approximately 2.5 centimeter in length, and there are eyelids which protects the eyeball from any injury and from any obstacle which can cause accidents or shocks to the eyes. It also releases a fluid which is called the tear to coat your eyes so that these remains moist. Now discuss the various parts of your eye. Observe figure number 13.14. So you see there is a outer covering on the eye, on the lens, which is called the cornea. Cornea is also a muscular part. It's a thin layer over the eye which makes a separation from the outer surrounding, and it protects the eye, internal parts of the eye, from the surrounding. Then comes the iris. Iris is a muscular organ which gives the color to your eye. If you have noticed, different people may have different colors of eyes. Some may have dark black, some may have grey, brown, dark brown, light brown, and in other countries people have blue eyes, green eyes also. So this color is because of the color of iris in your eye. Iris is very sensitive to the surroundings. Next is pupil. What is pupil? Pupil is actual path which allows light to enter into your eye. It's a dark hole which is reduced or expanded depending on the intensity of the light in your surrounding. For example, if you enter in a room with dim light, what do? You try to open your eyes wide so that you can see the objects clearly. Why? It happens so that more light from the different objects after reflection can enter into your eye, and it helps you to form the image of objects in your surroundings. If you enter from darker room to brighter area, for example from room to outside in a sunlit area, what do? You close your eyes or you shrink your eyes. Why this happens? So that only limited amount of light can enter into your eyes. This is all controlled by iris and ciliary muscles. Means the opening of the eye to allow the amount of light to enter into your eye is controlled by iris and ciliary muscles. Next is lens. Lens consists of transparent jelly-like material. It works on the phenomena of refraction. This jelly-like material allows light to move through your eye and help us to get the images of different objects. The lens helps in focusing the light when it passes through the pupil into the eye. First of all, light is coming to the cornea, then it is entering to pupil, and then it is entering to the lens. And then after passing through the lens, the light will focus at a point at the retina. What is retina? Retina is like a screen in your eye at the back end. So it is a lining behind the eyeball at the we can say at the other side of the eyeball, which gets the images, which forms the images of the different objects which are reflecting light that enters into your eye. The retina has sensory cells. There are two types of sensory cells. These are rod cells and cone cells. We are calling them sensory cells because they help us to understand the colors of the objects and the intensity of the light. Rod cells are sensitive to light and cone cells are sensitive to colors. So if you are able to see the colors of different objects, you are able to differentiate different colors, that is with the help of cone cells. And if you are able to differentiate the dim light and the bright light, that is because of the rod cells. There is a point at the retina where no image is formed. It is called the blind spot. What is blind spot actually? When we say the light rays are entering into our eyes and the image is formed at the retina, this information is sent to the brain. How it is possible? This is possible with the help of optic nerves. So there is a point where all optic nerves from different sensory cells, means the rod cells and the cone cells from the retina, are meeting at a point at the retina. This meeting point is called the blind spot. As there is no sensory cell, no image can be formed at this point. And this point is collecting all the nerves, optic nerves, and receiving messages from the sensory cells, which are rod cells and cone cells, and sending the message of image formed on the retina to the brain. Then brain analyzes that image and help you to recognize the image. One more characteristic of the image formed on the mirror is that it is always formed inverted. The tree that you are seeing in front of you, the image of this tree will be inverted at your retina. Then this message is sent to the brain. Brain analyzes and gives you the correct signal to identify the erect image of tree. There is a condition with the eye called the color blindness. What is color blindness? If we say blindness, we assume that the person is not able to see, but color blindness is not the same thing. Color blindness means some people cannot differentiate certain colors. They cannot see some specific colors. This is because of a certain gene present on these people. So they can, if that gene is present and in those people and it is dominant, so we can say these people are not able to see certain colors in the surroundings. For example, some people cannot see the blue color and green color in the surrounding. They say they see all these colors as grey colors. Why are some people unable to see clearly? You might have seen people wearing spectacles. Why do people wear spectacles? Does a baby wear a spectacle? No. People often wear spectacles after a certain time period or certain age of the time. If your eyes are healthy, you are not assumed to wear any spectacle. Unhealthy eyes means your eyes are not able to work properly to form the image on retina. Either the image is forming before the retina, means before the screen, or it is forming behind the screen. So we can understand these conditions and we can find out the solutions how to form the correct image on the correct point of retina. First condition is nearsightedness or myopia. If a person is seeing an object and the image is not forming at retina, instead the image is form before the retina. So what is happening? This person is suffering from myopia or nearsightedness. Means this person can see closer object, but this person cannot see the objects kept at far distances. How can we correct this? We can correct this by placing concave mirror. Because concave mirrors are diverging mirrors, they will diverge the light rays before the eyes, and these diverged light ray will be again focused by the lens of the eye at the retina. So here what we are trying to do, we are trying to change the focal point of the lens of your eye using additional lens. Second condition is farsightedness or hypermetropia. In this case, your eye lens is unable to make the image at the retina. Instead, it is making image behind the retina. So what we can do? We can use a convex lens to correct the focus. As convex lens is converging mirror, so it will converge the light rays exactly at the retina, so that you can also see the nearly placed objects. Because a person suffering with hypermetropia can see the distant object easily but cannot read, because when you are placing a book in front of your eyes, you are placing it very close to your eyes. So they are unable to read read the book or observe the object which are very small or placed very closer to the eyes. Okay, as we know that eyes are very essential organ. If there are no eyes, you cannot see the surroundings, you cannot enjoy the surroundings. So what you need to do? You need to take care of your eyes properly. To maintain the good health of your eyes, first thing is keep your eyes clean. Wash your eyes with clean cold water. Do not wash your eyes with hot water. Okay? Whenever you feel strain after reading, take a break after 20 minutes, wash your eyes and then wipe your eyes with a clean towel and you can continue your studies. Make sure before washing your eyes, you need to wash your hand first, so that there are no contamination, there are no germs which are entering with water to your eyes. If anything enter into your eyes, do not rub it. Or if you feel strain, sometimes also during strain eyes, you feel itching and you start rubbing. Do not do that. This causes damage to your eyes. What happens if dust particle enters into your eyes? Take a bowl, eye bowl, place your eye and close and open your eyes repeatedly, so that any particle which is stuck inside your eye can be released into the water, but do not rub it. Protect your eyes from the direct sunlight or dust. If you are going outside, wear sunglasses which can protect your eyes from the dust and bright sunlight. Do not watch television or work on computer for long hours, and do not watch tablets and laptops and phones. Means you need to reduce your screen time. If you are in front using more screen, you are straining your eyes. Do not read in dim light, because your eyes need to make more effort. Your ciliary muscles will be tired and your vision will be weakened. So in that case, also you can damage your eyes. So avoid that condition. Read a book or in a well-lit area. While reading, keep the reading material at a distance of about 20 to 30 centimeters from the eyes. Do not keep it very close or do not keep it from very far distances. Okay? Protect your eyes from any fatalities during playing, running, etc. If there is any injury, visit a doctor, eye specialist. Do not try to treat your eyes yourself. If you feel strain in your eyes, go to the doctor for eye checkup and use spectacles if these are required or these are suggested. One more thing that we need to understand here is Braille system. What is Braille system? What if a person is unable to see at all? This person is called blind. they are unable to read, they are unable to see things. So they are dependent on other senses. For example, they touch and feel different objects. So that by touching they can feel the temperature, they can feel the texture, but they cannot identify the colors, they cannot identify the light. Their observation is only limited to one sense organ because the vision of that person is now impaired. In this case, if a person is blind, they use Braille system. What is Braille system? Braille system is a method, or we say it's a aided method, which is used by the blind people to read and write. It is made up of embossed letters, signs and alphabets. There are no possibility of being able to read or write for a blind person. Okay? Why? Because they cannot see. But a Frenchman, Louis Braille, developed a method. Which method? The Braille script, Braille system. The Louis Braille himself lost his sight at the age of 3. He developed a new method to read and write only for those who are blind. So what he did? He developed a unique script called the Braille script, Braille language, and the script contains a set of characters known as the Braille characters. Each Braille character is designed in a cell and is made up of 6 dot positions. These dots are arranged in a pattern and these are embossed on a cell. These embossed pattern can be identified and these are referred as one sign, one alphabet or one letter or number. These are arranged in a rectangular cell of 3 dots, each in 2 columns. Means there is a rectangular cell where these dots are arranged to design different embossed patterns, and each embossed pattern refers to a sign which can be identified by the sense of touch, and that's how the blind people can connect these signs to read and write the different scriptures. Okay, so in this chapter we understood that how does the light behaves in different mediums, how does it is reflected from different types of surfaces, how it is bent or moving away from different when it is moving from one medium to the other medium. How can we use this phenomena of light to different application in our life? For example, we can use the refraction of light to create the spectrum from a prism. Also, we can use lenses based working on the same phenomena of refraction to correct the different conditions of eyes. Also, we understood that how Braille system was invented and it is helpful for people who cannot see. That's it for the day. We will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.